Well, I think that we have to really sort of break down the study. I mean, it's not necessarily that we're suddenly going to all turn into murderers or start beating our husbands and things like that. In 2009, a report came out in The Lancet, the British medical journal, and it said that climate change was the biggest public health threat of the 21st century. The other piece of this is that climate change is an environmental justice issue because it's the poor, it's the disenfranchised, people of color that are experiencing this the most. We're expecting it to warm up at least another 2 degrees between now and the end of this century. And that 2 degrees really makes a gigantic difference. I came across a study that was done by Siegfried Schubert, and he should pay me money because I've been giving him so much free publicity. And he had looked at the surface temperatures of the ocean over the past 100 years. And what he found, and this one stopped me cold, what he found is that the surface temperature of the ocean had changed by 1 degree, and it caused the drought that caused the Dust Bowl. We're looking now at a 2 to 11 degree change between now and the end of this century. And 2 degrees, I think, we'll be able to manage. If we get up to 11 degrees, game over. We can't pin each specific weather event on climate change. Hurricane Sandy, this debate as to whether the hurricane itself was caused by climate change. You know, the scientists are still arguing about that. I have friends that live in Lower Manhattan, and it was completely without power for over a week. They had to move uptown. But, you know, again, you know, the poor, the disenfranchised, you know, people of color, they didn't have places to move uptown. You know, you had stories of visiting nurses finding people nearly in diabetic comas. Doctors Without Borders, for the first time in its history, set up a clinic on American soil in the Rockaways. We saw what happened in New Orleans. You know, there were 16 area hospitals. Only 3 were able to reopen right after the storm. You had 13 that were closed for varying lengths of time. And the 2 public health hospitals, including Charity Hospital, which is, it's always a contest between them and Bellevue, which is the oldest hospital in the United States, remains closed to this day. They had only 1 level 1 trauma center that was operational after the storm, which meant that if you had a gunshot wound, you had to be airlifted 350 miles to Shreveport. You're public health guys, you know what that means. Time is brain. You know, time is heart, time is whatever. You know, so there were people dying unnecessarily because of the poor public health system. Within a year after Katrina, mortality rates in New Orleans went up by 25%, even though the population was reduced by half. You know, you had much higher rates of domestic abuse, substance abuse, and suicide. Within a year after Katrina, 5 doctors committed suicide. The thing is, the heat wave in 2003, it was the hottest summer since Henry VIII had been on the throne of England, which just goes to show you how hot it was. The French weren't taking this at all seriously, and it was, you know, sort of one of these perfect storms of terrible things. It was August, everybody was on vacation, everybody had parked their elderly relatives in these rest homes that didn't have showers, didn't have air conditioning, and the health officials were on vacation. And they didn't really realize the seriousness of the threat. And of course, later on, heads rolled, people got fired. But in the meantime, anywhere from 35,000 to 70,000 people died across Europe, including 15,000 in France, because they didn't know how to deal with it. The Hadley Center in Great Britain, which is one of these great climate change modeling centers, said that if we don't do anything about emissions, which we're not, hello, we're really not doing anything, by 2040, half of all European summers will be as hot as that summer. This is sort of an opening volley to sort of look at this. Right. But one of the things that we do know is that the changing climate will contribute to crop failures, will contribute to famine, and this can create conflict and violence. As temperatures rise, it also cooks the air. It cooks the particulates in the air, and it creates that ozone smog that's so detrimental and has cumulative effects. I mean, it definitely has. You know, we had catalytic converters put on the cars. The air is much cleaner here. But how long can we sustain that? We're going to start seeing these kind of carbon domes that form over cities as, you know, the CO2 collects over more cities. You know, as I say, think Central Valley, think Salt Lake City, think Beijing.
Linda, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Stay cool this weekend.
All right, thank you.